everybody, and welcome back to KF&JF Podcast. We're so happy today to have this guest on our show. I tell you, it's important for all of you to stand by and listen to this show because the information that's going to be coming out of this show is not only going to affect your community, but it's going to affect you individually. And I hope that all of you guys are out there just ready for this. And again, I appreciate all of you coming to KF&JF Podcast and subscribing and also taking the time to view our shows. As I said before, I really do thank you for taking the time to go to Joy Be Love and make those purchases that help us to be able to bring these kinds of special shows to you. And I look forward to you guys continuing to do that and have that support for us. Again, I like to be able to push it forward to our co-host. And you know who he is, but he likes to introduce himself. So let's do it again.
Hello, everybody. I am Razak. I am the CEO and founder of United Minority Business Ventures. My purpose is to help small businesses grow. I assist with the creative process and maintenance of your business. My method to achieve results is simply building a deeper relationship with your customers. We do this by forming opportunities to communicate and collaborate with your followers, subscribers, and other business owners. When you do this by using a wide range of networking tools, we have an understanding for building your marketing profile, social media marketing, figuring out your marketing strategy, or building your financial profile for your business. We also assist by branding your product or your merchandise. We may also determine what licenses is needed to operate your business, or if you plan on owning your domain or buying into a pre-existing site that hosts your page. We also like to assist by managing your website, and this allows me to frequently select posts that create subscriptions, comments, and likes. We may also assist by generating comments on other individual business sites or page that create a dialogue of conversation directed towards your page. And Mr. Faulkner, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We are definitely interested in Mr. Faulkner's views today. This is one of those times that we're actually going to have political views, and we're going to have not only those views, but views that are going to be able to bring a conversation, something that's going to allow us to be able to connect with each other and bring each other together. But without me saying any more, please introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me as well. Again, Eric Faulkner, married to the amazing and wonderful Cassandra Faulkner. We have 2 kids, and I just became my granddad for the first time with my grandson, QJ. I'm a 27-year Temecula resident, and I served in the military, the United States Navy, the best service, for 27 years as well, retiring in 2014. I got involved in the politics world by being a commissioner with the Race Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Commission, in addition to doing some things in the community, such as I'm on the Riverside County Civilian Use of Force Advisory Council for Supervisor Chuck Washington, District 3. In addition to that, I mentor young men with the Big Brothers program, and got the bug to run for politics and run for Temecula City Council. So that's where I'm at right now as I continue to move for that goal post and running for City Council and getting my campaign set up and getting going to be on the ballot in November of this year. That's a little bit about myself.
Yeah.
Wow, that little bit is the big little bit, to have all of that,
Yeah.
We want to thank you for your service, because just the idea of having to put yourself out there and, and protecting our country. And not only that, putting yourself out there away from your family and all of the things that comes with being in the military. So we can't thank you enough here at KF&JF Podcast for what you've been doing and what you continue to do while you're out there. I'd like to ask you a question that we usually kind of start off with, just to kind of open things up a little bit. Can you tell us something a little bit unique about yourself? Something about yourself that, really not many people know, and will be, wow, we didn't know this about Eric.
I mean, there's some things about me that a lot of people don't know. Many people do know, but people if you haven't met me before, I like to, in my spare time, I like to sing. So that's kind of a hobby of mine as well. Engaged in hiking. I'm a physical fitness guy, so I like to stay in shape and work out as well. But I think, and I'm an avid reader and again a studier of just being a better person, being a better human, and being engaged. So those are a couple of things about me that, if you never knew me, those are some of the things you would be able to get from me in regards to who I am and what I like to get involved with.
Okay. Fitness
Well,
guys.
isn't that something? Everybody's got a voice, huh? you might as well use that voice.
We get a lot of singers.
We've been a lot of singers, and he's a singer. I'm a singer. You're a singer, man. We got to get together.
We got to do something like the three spots right here. We can do something. We can get together.
That's what it's about, man. You already started off unity already, so you bring it together already.
There it is.
Through your voice, man. It's amazing how much we put into everything else in our life, and then we find some things that, man, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna try this. This is something new about me, and not many people know until they see you on stage or they see you with that new album that you made, because you've been at home yelling in the shower and your wife trying to tell you to be quiet about 100 times in there.
Nobody just been saying, "Don't ask her."
Challenges. For sure. What are some of the challenges that you see in your campaigns as you've been out there and about in the community? What are some of the things that, one or two things that you found to be, I really got to keep that in mind as I pursue this position?
I think a couple of challenges with running for politics for the first time is there's a lot you don't know, right? You're learning on the go. You're actually seeking out mentors and coaches, people who have done it before. Take a little bit from them each side in regards to how to really run an effective campaign to win. And then there's also the tug of war that goes on between the pull back and forth in regards to you need to do this if you want to win. You do that if you want to win. This political party is giving you feedback. This political party is giving you feedback. In this nonpartisan space, right? Because it's supposed to be nonpartisan, which means your political affiliation doesn't mean anything. But I'm just finding out, although it's titled that, your political position really does mean something in regards to support you get from one side or the other. I try to stay in the nonpartisan because I want to be in a space where I can connect with everyone, no matter where they come from, walk of life, political party, religious beliefs, or anything like that. Because really at the local level, it's about quality of life, dealing with the quality of life of the residents, really taking care of their needs, which crosses all lines and parties. So I try to stay centered on that to make sure that I am able to reach everyone, no matter where they're at and where they are. Try to reach them to make sure that I would do the right thing to make sure they're included and in everything in regards to what the city has to offer.
Right.
I think that's a good answer for some of the people that are out there that are trying to decide whether or not to go into politics, right? Because one of the things you just mentioned was the fact that, regardless of what side that you're on, if you're in the middle of that, your job is to try to, govern or have ideas that are going to benefit all. You know what I mean? It's not a matter of whether you're this person or that person. So I think that needs to be talked about a little bit more, because everybody assumed that just because you're on a Republican or a Democrat, you're 100% that way. There are other things in the middle that make sense. That's why crossing the aisles are important in the political landscape. One of the other questions I have is a little bit about, talk a little bit about the changes in the political landscape regarding, technology. Right now there's a lot of ways to get your vote. There's a lot of ways, the internet, all of these other services that are out there to get you your poll numbers up and all these different things. How do you see that? And do you find that there is some discrepancies in that technology?
Well, and again, like I said, it's running for the first time. I'm learning a lot in regards to all the ways to reach voters. So it's the basic thing of knocking doors. I mean, That is a major way of getting people to know who you are. So you got to knock doors. They got to get in front of people. That's how you get most of the votes. But then there's this other aspect of the technology you're talking about, by using social media ads through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok to reach voters. In addition to a new thing that's out there right now is texting, right? So using texting to reach voters in your district. I don't know anyone who doesn't get a text and hear that ding who's not going to look at the phone. Even though they think it's spam, they'll look at it for a moment and say, okay, that's not for me. But by that time they've read your name and it's kind of imprinted in them, right? So the text messages is another opportunity to connect as well. And then your internet site, a good website to make sure people can go to, figure out who you are, because you can't be in front of everybody to explain who you are and show your background and why you're running. So that effective website to really connect and then move those voters over to volunteering to support you, in addition to donating to your campaign. And then the mailers, so you still have to do the mailing thing where you have to send mailers to doors. You have to addresses to get your face in front of them as well. So it's all about the imprints and how you connect with the voters. Not only the technology is great, but you can't forget the fact that you still have to get up out of that seat and walk and put your miles in and get in front of people. So it's a combination of both. The technology is great, and you have to use it if you're really serious about winning. But you can't forget the legacy type of getting people out to vote, which is knocking on doors, going in community parks, talking to people, let them know who you are, going to community events, holding meet and greets across your district, in addition to pulling mailers out there as well. So a combination of both, the legacy side and then the technology side is what you need to do to win.
You know what? You speak on one of the things that I think that's important, that most people that are in, that are going for the first time or even have been in politics for a while and trying to get reelected, they forget about the most important part of politics. It's the in-person talking to somebody, knocking on the door, and making sure that they know who you are, because you can do all the mailing and texting and emails you want. And yes, you will get a percentage of that, but you get a better percentage when you put the feet to the street and start walking the beat. And you'll know that you're able to get a better rapport of what's needed, and then also a better output from the community as far as votes are concerned. So I think when you talk about that as a first time, political person that's going out there, it's an important aspect of doing that job as a candidate. One of the other things I kind of am thinking about when we talk about this is the youth, right? Because I like to know what advice you can give them as someone that has came from the military and has came from a place of discipline. How do you see that or advice that you can give them, what they can do in their community and how they can be disciplined so they can achieve results as well?
Well, that's a good question. So and I, in my position, I'm a commissioner with the city as well, the Race Equity Diversity Inclusion Commission. I've been doing that for the last 4 years as well. And one of the spaces that we tap into and have a conversation with is our youth, to empower and encourage them to get involved in the process, and also to let them know your voice is a strong voice in this community, right? So many times when you talk to kids, and I talk to them often, is that they feel like their voice is minimized, right? Adults think they know everything. Hey, we've already lived it. You don't have anything to add to the table because we've already seen everything. And then they discredit the youth, right? So then you feel like, okay, well, this space is not for me. And what happens is when they get old enough to leave that city or that community, they're gone because they don't feel valued where they're at. So I think the major thing is, and me being in the military for 27 years, I've led people from all walks of life. Some of them first generation removed from their countries. Some of them learned the language while they were serving in the military. Came in, had 2 young men that came in from Puerto Rico, didn't speak the language. They learned through the military, served, got out. Both of them are doctors now. But that's encouraging them to understand that, hey, no matter what the obstacles are, you can survive and you can make your life better. And to always engage in the process. Always speak up when you have an opportunity. Don't let anybody minimize that, and don't feel like you have to be silenced uh, to be able to get your voice out there. So I think for leaders, when they're dealing with our youth, is you have to give them a space where they can communicate and be themselves, authentically themselves, and say what they need to say, because they add value to the process. You know, a city that doesn't have youth is a dying city. I mean, nobody wants to be a dying city, an older city, because you have nowhere to progress to if you don't have this younger generation come behind us. So again, making sure we give them a voice.
Right. Right.
You're absolutely right, because that voice is an important part of change, right? It's
Yeah.
what helps to create change. Is that if you can speak and articulate what you see is wrong or what you see needs to be changed, or it always bring other people together. So now you spearhead that idea where you're able to make a difference. So that is an important part of what we need to do, and what you need to do as you're out there as a leader, articulating to our youth. So I really thank you for that and the work that you're doing in that area as well. One of the other things I'd like to ask you, since you are in the Temecula area and this community here is close to the border, right? So we have this issue out there where we are trying to determine, what is the real policies that needs to be done for, the border and immigration. Do you have a idea on how that would work? Because in dealing with the Temecula area, people are passing through. We got the highway up here that's got the checkpoint. How do you see that? And what are maybe some ideas that you may have thought of over the period of time as you've been pursuing your candidacy?
Yeah. So, and when we talk about the border and things and legislation that deals with that, you know, really, other than it, when people are identified to live in our city, is where we get involved as city council. So our focus is not things that are going to be on the legislative, that huge legislative state ballot, national ballot. That's an individual vote, right? For border patrol, border security, not for border security. For supporting or not supporting, that's an individual right for people to vote on. But when it impacts the city, say for instance, we get overwhelmed with personnel and managing that here, that's where the city council comes in, because we're about making sure, parks and recreation are great, that the city's safe, that fire responds on time, that we have our streets are maintained appropriately, that we have housing up and down the spectrum, where there's the higher income housing and there's lower income housing for those people to be able to afford to live here as well, and to make sure our economy is rocking like it should be, ensuring that we can stimulate that to make sure that we take care of our residents here. So the focus on city council crosses all party lines and all affiliates in regards to quality of life issues. But when people come in that are coming in because they're coming in the right way across the border to Temecula, we want to be welcoming and opening. But we also want a strong. I think anyone, and Eric speaking for Eric, wants a stronger border to make sure people coming in the right way, right? But not to make sure that we have the policies that make sure that we don't make it, just overwhelming for people to get across, but they need to come in the right way. And we need to manage that when it affects our city, to ensure that, our residents are in a safe space, and also that we show people that do it the right way that they're welcome here as well.
Right.
Well, that's great. I think that you covered a great deal, and what your opinion is of how you want to see that looking forward. And it kind of piggybacks on my next question, because, and I'm gonna kick it over to Razak. Is when we talk about the migration of immigrants and things like that, there's a couple things that happen that you in the political world have to deal with, and that's homelessness and healthcare. Those two things are powerful drags on a community, because the resources that are needed for homelessness, the resources and the ability to keep a healthy community, to save the hospitals from being able to be overwhelmed with the cost of How do you see some of those areas and your community or the community that you're will be working in, such as Temecula?
Yeah, so I think every city has been affected by the homelessness issue, and again the impact on healthcare as well with that as well. So we have a great team here, the homeless outreach team that goes out to try to find our homeless in the community, offer them services, and when they can comply with the regulations in regards to those services, we try to get them housed and off the street and in supported wraparound services to try to make them resilient. So. How we deal with that is we continue to just really focus on what leads to the homelessness, you know, because there are many things when we talk to our homeless in our city that leads to that. Some of that substance abuse, some of that's mental health, some of that they just lost hope on life, right? So and or they don't feel safe in spaces that are there for them as well. So how do we work to get ahead of that before they get there? Is the real challenge that most cities across the country are having. I mean, because if they don't uh, take up the opportunity to get in rehab to deal with the drug issue, then it's hard to house them, because if they're going to continue to do drugs and be put in housing, that places the people that are in housing for the right reason in a unsafe space when drugs are in the space. So how do we get ahead of that to get them the help for that? And then the healthcare aspect of it is, is really getting around making sure healthcare is here and equitable and accessible. But if we can't get a hold of why homelessness happens, which means that how do we get ahead of the drug issue, the mental health issues, and again, safe housing for this to be able to transition them through the system and get them back on their feet where they can actually be resilient to take care of themselves, we have got to figure that out. And I think every city is struggling with this issue right now, because if you look at the housing situation here in California, it's retail, people in retail and fast food can't afford to live here, let alone someone who doesn't have an income to live here as well. So what do we do to get ahead of this, and how do we help families, work to resolve some of the issues before it leads to homelessness is the real big key of how we resolve this. But that's one of the things that we're struggling with across the country, and homelessness numbers are going up because of the fact that you can't afford, and there are other life situations that puts people in homelessness other than some of the other issues like the mental health and the drugs as well.
Right.
I,
That's a good point.
I think you hit it on there, because one of the things that you as you talk about that, it's really the domino effect, right? It's kind of like you stand the domino up in one area, and if they're not able to continue on and trying to do the things, that the domino falls all over again. If they're inside of the mental health and they're not getting mental health, and if they're on drugs, then they continue to be on drugs. So you keep standing these dominoes up to try to keep, so you can keep it moving. But a lot of those things depends on something else working as well. So
Yeah,
I think that's one of the things that has been taken advantage of, because everybody said homelessness is the end of the whole world is homelessness. LA got all this homelessness. And communities like Temecula may not have as many, but still there are people that, when you talk about the McDonald's or the Jack in the Box, these guys are making whatever the minimum wage is. It still can't. You still got a high rent. You still got all these other things that can
yeah,
make a working person
yeah.
not able to have the ability to live, or sleeping in their cars and some of those other things. So that's a big fight, I think.
That's a big fight. And if I can may add a little bit to that as well, is the fact that you know our people that are struggling with homeless, they're human beings, and from my perspective, and being in leadership, when I'm out talking to them, I treat them like human beings. Many people will try to put them in this box, where you're not the same as everybody else. We have to treat them with respect and dignity as well. And solid leadership understands that. And even if they're struggling with those issues, they're still a part of our community. We're still responsible for taking care of their needs and trying to support them and meet them where they are to get them out of that state of homelessness. So I want to add that to it as well.
Right.
I appreciate that, Razak.
All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna be that guy, like, like, okay, what is he gonna ask? This. Okay, so all right, let's jump into this. Okay, so what is being in the military? Defending the country. This is I guess you can say the fight for people's rights to bear arms. I want to know what is your stance on gun control, and
Mhm.
how do you plan to balance the Second Amendment with the need for public safety? And as you're thinking about to answering this question, I want to also apply that we've had people killed, murdered in the streets, people of color, minorities, even some white people, I guess you would want to call them, that have also uh, felt the imbalance of saying I'm armed or not being armed and killed in the streets. How do you see, as far as public safety, as far as being allowed to own a gun?
Okay, so I mean, I'll start with the fact that I'm a gun owner. So I believe that people have the right to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe with that comes with me the responsibility to ensure that it's done correctly. I think from our position within the city, so gun is a ballot. I mean, the Second Amendment rights are a ballot issue, right? If we're going to change it, or if we're going to keep it the same, or we're going to go down a new direction. It takes individual votes to make that decision. Here in the local area, I mean, we respect people's gun rights. We expect people to be responsible with those gun rights. We respect it, whether it's law enforcement or regular citizens, to be responsible for their use and being able to own a gun in your profession, and also to protect yourself at home. So I support the Second Amendment. I believe in the right to bear arms, but I believe that there's some more sensible ways to do that, to make sure that there's some controls in place, to try to ensure that the guns are not in the wrong hands. And then the black market is an issue for everyone, right? So if you can't purchase a gun at a gun show or at one of the shops that sells them the right way, there's always this black market out there that's able to sell. And if anything, if we could go after that and shut that down, that would be great. But again, responsible use, proper checks to make sure there's no background issues or concerns with the actual gun holder or the person who's trying to get a gun, to ensure that our citizens are safe. I won't, even when law enforcement and regular citizens have to engage with one another, I want them both to go home safe and alive. And also, if someone's in their home and someone breaks in, I want them to be able to defend themselves as well. But anytime there's the improper use of handguns, it needs to be held to the highest accountability, to ensure that we send the message that we expect responsible use, respect to protect yourself. But when you take it beyond that, then there's an accountability that comes with that as well.
Right, right. And I know that they have multiple different things that you got either filed to have gun ownership. But also, I would like to just interject real quick that even with that being done, there are still people that I guess they misuse that right, or that ability to have a gun, and it's like they might use it in a criminal nature or something. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's difficult to get a hand on what it is that makes a person either mentally unstable or makes that wrong decision in the heat of the moment. And with that, getting that is how do you plan to address the issues of police brutality and the reform for the criminal justice system? And I'm saying this because a lot of times when we are armed, I mean, it's like there's been countless cases of the police killing young men, women, and it's like, if I'm scared, I mean, it's like I don't have it seems like there's a double standard, or I guess, or one-sided, that if I'm scared, I can't say that this police are scaring me. I'm in fear of my life being in front of this officer. So, but I can't pull my gun and say, hey, you're scaring me. But the officer has all the means and capabilities with all his training, all this backup and stuff to say, hey, I'm in fear of you, so I'm going to pull my gun and shoot you. How do we balance that right for arms?
Well, I think it's always a good question to really always look at the fact that, weapons are dangerous, right? So, and how do we ensure that we support the Second Amendment, but also make sure that people responsibly using, whether it's law enforcement or the regular resident or citizen that's meant to do harm to someone else as well, right? So, so the challenge is, and when I look, because I got tunnel vision, so I'm in Temecula, right? Suburbia, right? And I look at the issues. I get the report as a commissioner about response times and use of force. I told you I'm on the Civilian Use of Force Advisory Council, and I look at some of those cases as well. But a majority of, the cases that I look at and we look at and provide support for is, it's as a last resort that the law enforcement gets that they get engaged about what I've seen. In the city, when I look at some of the cases we have here, we don't have the large numbers like some of the other cities they may have be dealing with the issue of the gun control and responsible use. So it's a legislative issue to ensure this is balanced out. It's an individual vote. Unfortunately, for city council, it's one of those things where we work with for Riverside Sheriff. We contract out for Riverside Sheriff in Temecula. So and they are on the city council providing feedback about all the cases across the spectrum. And I think it really boils down to transparency. It really boils down to how we engage in the process locally, because Eric is not a senator, a congressman, or anything like that. So I don't make laws in that aspect of it. So I manage the city on what we do in Temecula, and in this space right here. I can tell you right now, I have no aspirations to run for partisan politic positions with senators, congressmen, and all those guys who are partisan on one side or the other. But focused in on what we can do here in regards to use of force, and also when we have issues in the city of Temecula that rise to the occasion of accountability in regards to our sheriff and the people that work in the city, and how we manage them if issues like that happen. So, and the transparency when they happen as well.
Right. Thank you. That's good. Let me change gears here a little bit. Okay, so I know you're in more of a, you said more rural, upper, I guess it was upper class, not necessarily upper class, suburbia. A little bit better, not so, not in such a ghetto area or something, But at the same time, how do you plan to address the income equality and ensure that all Americans or Temecula area or Riverside area, I guess, or surrounding areas have access to the same economic opportunities to afford housing?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. And again, for Temecula City Council, we just focus on Temecula. We work with all the other cities of Riverside County when there's when support is needed, and we also go to the state to get that support as well to focus on the housing issue within our city. In addition to the funds we have here locally, we reach out for at the supervisor level, at the county level, and then at the state level to provide that support as well when needed. But affordability here, as you can see, median home prices are like almost $700,000 in California. That's really tough in regards to someone, kids working in retail, or someone's working, at fast food restaurants and making minimum wage. It's really hard to really find that balance and supporting them as well. One of the things we always look at is how many affordable housing units we have. The challenge with Temecula, when we build affordable housing units, people want to live in this city, so they're on the list. It goes like that. So when housing go up, there are already people already signing for the housing, and there's a wait list to get housing. because people like this area. There's a lot to do here. The parks are great, schools are great, and we have our own hospital here. We have college. We have a college here in Mount San Jacinto, and we have things to do here to keep people here and spend their money here. But we're a bed down community, so there are lots of businesses here, but not major businesses where you're making six figures from jobs. There are a small percentage of this community that does that, but many of them commute down to San Diego and LA to make that money. So again, it's focused on what city council should be doing is, again, growing the economy, looking at trying to bring in business owners, trying to bring in entrepreneurs. When you bring those guys, those people in, and they open a business here, they open their entrepreneurs starting a business even out of their home, they employ people, right? So that increases the opportunity for people to get jobs and get jobs at a higher paying salary. So also going to college, get certifications and degrees, but that's a challenge because that puts people in debt, right? So not only do you get out of school and you have to pay that debt back, but you're trying to get into housing, which sets you back, and then you have to rent until you can actually get out of the debt to actually afford to be able to buy a home. So it's a challenging problem that not only Temecula has, but all the cities have in regards to, again, being able to provide this affordable housing, and even for not only for the people who make the money, but for those who don't make a high salary per year, to ensure that we have some balanced housing for them. The challenge is we're in a city that's almost built out. We don't have a lot of more space for communities. So what we have is for people to get in, it's going to be for people to get into the city. People have to leave the city to open up a housing unit or a rental property for people to come in. So it's a challenge, and I think as a candidate, is one of the things that's always the question. What are we doing about housing? What are we doing about affordable housing? How can we make that better? So there's always discussions. There's always looking to see what's the best options out there, and then looking out what's best practices in the community on how we do that as well. So I think there's a couple things we can look at. We should be looking at to ensure how we can make that better for the residents who can't afford housing.
Right. Thank you. I got two more questions, and I'm gonna pass it back to Keith. Let me ask you. Earlier, you work with the youth too, and you had mentioned earlier about the youth education. So, once how would you plan? How would you address like student loans and debt and making that access to higher education more affordable? Because a lot of times, we're going to college. I went to college. I got some degrees, and it seemed like, it takes forever and ever to actually pay off these loans or something, that you have after college. Is there anything in place that you have planned for student loan and debts, making it more easier to access?
No, thanks for that question. I'm a military guy. I got the GI Bill. I got my master's in health administration, have my bachelor's in health science. I got my bachelor's while I was in the military with tuition assistance that we had. And then I finished up some of my master's before I got out. And then I paid for the rest because I gave my GI Bill, which we get when you serve, and you serve honorably. They made the ability for you to be able to transfer to your family members. So I was able to give that to my daughter so she can finish up her bachelor's to be debt free. So now not everybody has that option. But that's an option out there for people who wouldn't mind going in the military just to get, to serve your country and also get money for college to prevent you from actually going into debt. But one of the things that we need to continue to look at is in cities is how we can bring colleges to those cities. I think what Temecula has done with Mount San Jacinto College, who has a campus here locally. It prevents kids who are not ready for college to go to a two-year degree, get their associates, focus on their ability to really hone in on college and get it done. And then trying to look at if we can bring a 4-year university here to, again, where they can transfer over and seeing how those universities can incentivize or really work with those based on income levels to ensure that they don't overtax them with paying for college. This is a major issue across the country. Talking about student debt, how do we relieve it? Again, it's being talked at the presidential level, down to the governors and down to the mayors in regards to how do we do this better and how we can really help, because student debt is one of the things that prevents home ownership, because you got to pay that back before you can get into something. You don't want to have two major bills, want to pay student debt, home ownership, with everything else, insurance, car payments, and all those things that'll really could push a young person into bankruptcy. So we need to continue to look for the opportunity to see how we can bring colleges in, how we can incentivize and support them so they can actually push those savings down to the residents. So looking at programs where we can do that, partner with them to ensure that they can support and give a good quality education, but not at a high level of financial spending from the actual resident and these young students that are graduating as well. So I think that's something that cities can do, and something we can do here is continue to do some of the things that we've already started doing. We're trying to bring major colleges into the city to once keep them from having to travel to other places and make it affordable while you bring the colleges here. All right, so now they can stay at home a little longer with mom and dad and don't have to pay this rent, finish college up, and then be able to support, paying off that bill as well. So, so some of the things that we can do to try to just really bring colleges closer to where the people live that want to actually attend college. So,
right. Yeah, I know. Once I got my associates and I went and got my bachelor's, and I know that was just man. It's a matter of fact, I think I'm still might owe some money on there right now. And it seems like your education is almost like a trap. I want to say they're giving you the education and they're saying that all this money is for you to just really just for the books, and for the time in the class that you have. And a lot of those things is based on programs and applications of book work and stuff like that you can't really have unless you're, because I was in the AutoCAD and doing blueprints and stuff like that. And once you started doing that, once you left the setting of the school and went into an actual business, the how should I say that the software changes, what I mean? So a lot of stuff was different than from being in the classroom. The classroom, you was, what I mean? And I think sometimes it can be, this is just me in my opinion, but it can be a trap for people to say, hey, let's just go into school and then, you're just going to find a job like that, and you're going to be successful for the long term. And it's not always like that for everybody that goes in there and they get the degrees. And then you end up, kind of like having the degree, but you're in debt for, 4 years later, still trying to, make it work for you and still pay, so you're getting that with already thousands of dollars things. And as you said, the cost of living and doing that, I think that's a hassle. It's like a hurdle that you have to jump over.
If I can add to that discussion, is the fact that college isn't for everybody, right? So as people are assessing their kids and are they prepared to go to college, you got to make sure they're ready. You don't want to waste money. All right. So if they're not focused and ready to go to college, then they're not ready to go to college. There are other options out there for them. Many times people don't even talk about apprenticeship programs anymore, right? So they're painters, they're plumbers, and there are other jobs that make just as much as someone with a master's degree. And they don't take that long to acquire. You go to the apprenticeship program, you get certified, and you start doing the work, and you're getting paid $50 an hour doing these jobs. Those jobs are still out there. Yes, they're going to be replaced with AI and all the other things that are coming, but those jobs are still out there for them. If someone's not focused, we need to give them other options, right? Apprenticeship programs. Maybe if you have aspirations for the military, that's another option as well. In addition to, don't let these kids graduating choose degrees that are going to lead to nothing. I mean, basket weaving and all these other things and like that they're getting degrees in. I want you to look out into the civilian market, look out in the job market, and see is there a job associated with your degree. If there's not, you need to really look at. I know you have passion about this, and you can still do it, but you need to probably have a business degree or something else, and a degree in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, because that's where we're going. I mean, and that's where the job's going to be, and that's where we should be making sure the kids understand coding and all these other things, that there are going to be jobs on the other side. Family members need to really get real with their children that are, getting ready to go to college and graduate, to know you need to be looking out into the community to see what types of jobs are out there. And you're saying you want to make this and you want to do that. And you need to make sure, you need to look at probably moving your degree in one of those spaces that is actually going to lead to employment, not lead to you constantly putting in resume after resume after resume trying to get a job. So,
right, and let me ask you this. Now, I was just writing down right now because I always thought that I was one of those guys that was in school thinking they're teaching us something that we don't necessarily has any importance on actually living and going through life. And I'm wondering, is today's when as you're applying for council and you get into council, is there a plan in place, or is there a strategy, or am I just reaching where you can actually teach these things now? Like on the college level, I guess it's just a matter of the books and how fast you learn the degree of the test. But is there a way to teach those things now, and then we can bypass even having to go through college? Because trig and algebra and all these different things, they have, and they have music, we have football, we're going all out for football and sports, but then we give this kind of marginalized, regurgitated, always the same history sense, now you're in different, and it takes for you to be in different states to get different aspects on what history is or what science is, but is there a way to teach this now? And then that way we kind of like, not to discredit universities and all that type of stuff, but you can get at least an idea of being prepared for it later on, because you're getting that first half right now on the college level in the high school.
A lot of times, so K through 12, and that's what we deal with, being in city council. But a lot of people don't understand that, in cities, you have city council, and that leadership and the funding that comes with that. But also you have school boards, right? And they control the educational system K through 12. City council has nothing to do with the educational system in the cities. I mean, they do their own thing. They get on the ballot just like city councilmen do so, and they develop the curriculum for the students and things of that nature. Now, from my perspective, in regards to Eric Faulkner, and if I were growing, if I had a kid coming up, one of the things I would like to see in being K through 12 is a couple of things that I understand that the basic educational system is this and this. It's kind of cookie cutter in regards to the class you got to go through, but some things that need to be taught as we look out into society and see what our kids are going through. Conflict resolution needs to be taught. Financial literacy needs to be taught, right? And it can be taught when you get to middle school where they understand it better. But those things need to be taught because those are the struggles kids are having. They don't know how to deal with the money situation when they get it, and they don't know how to deal with people, right? So they need to understand how to resolve conflict the right way, and not always about the fist, and not always about going and get a weapon because you felt disrespected. But if you instill in them as they're going through K through 12 on how to deal with that from when they're little all the way up to they graduate, I think you can kind of get ahead of some of the issues and concerns we're having. So there's a couple of things that we really need to focus on this STEM situation, because that is where the jobs are going. These are the people that are going to be building the robotics and actually monitoring all these things and putting the coding together. So that's really where it's at. And we really need to focus those efforts early on. If you look at some countries like, I would say, I was stationed in Japan. So let's put Japan and how they raise their kids in regards to making sure that, they challenge them. You look at their class curriculum and how they do it. It's militant, but it's structured. And many times that we wait until the schools teach them, but as parents, we have to be really involved these days. when they come home, they're going to go to school, but when they come home, we have to be educating and getting them ahead of the game as well. We have to be preparing them in the summer as they go to the next grade as well. So it isn't just about the teachers teaching, but we have a responsibility as parents and grandparents to make sure our kids are, at level or above level to ensure that they can keep up with their peers in regards to how they're learning, how we pour into them, and how they are successful as they finish K through 12 and head into college as well. So definitely.
Right. That's you right on right there. Dead on right there. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to pass it on to back to Keith. And so I'm we're in the Riverside the area, county, and I'm seeing a lot of okay, so this is the the basic is like saying, what is your stance on the legalization of marijuana, and how do you plan to address the issues of drug policy and reform? Because I'm seeing a lot more little, those little green little plus signs all over the place, and what I mean, and it seems like it's is it not taking over in a sense, what I mean? Is it and what else leads from those shops? What I mean? Like what changes about everything else? Because you got some states that are hard on just smoking weed, what I mean? And you have more lax states. So how does that balance when you have a whole nother state like I want to say Texas, that they're harsher laws, and it's the same I guess stuff, what I mean, that's here in California. And how do you have the legalization or making it illegal?
Well, I just speak on Temecula's policy on it, and they haven't accepted the fact that they're allowing marijuana in this city or dispensaries and things like that. Okay, medical marijuana you can be able to get, but they're not allowing dispensaries and things like that to open up openly here in the city. I'm not a marijuana smoker, so it's a drug to me. My stance on it is a lot different than others. I just don't. I see some of the rubbing compounds that don't have THC in it, like that people use, and I know people that have used it and says nothing was able to fix my pain other than this. And I'm not discrediting them. I believe them. I mean, because that's their story and that's their body. So I wouldn't know. So I take that for what they tell me, and if that's something that helps, then if it's done the right way, I just don't believe in opening the door and just allow anybody to come in and start selling things, because it just becomes a challenge, and it becomes a challenge to manage as leadership within the city, because you let one in, then everybody's going to be at the door trying to get in. And I know some cities that manage it well, and I've been kind of well. So I was in Colorado just past week, and they have like an open policy in regards to marijuana. And I understand, for some areas, this is a money thing, right? It brings funds in, and you can manage it where it's not illegal, where people are on the street selling it, and you can manage it better. But you asking me, I just don't like putting anything. When you smoke, if people smoke, that it's going to your lungs, and everybody can tell me, oh, it's natural. No, you're a smoker. If you're a regular smoker of cigarettes or a regular smoker of marijuana, it's damaging this. And I don't want to put anything in my body that's impure, that's going to cause me to have health issues. So I'm not a proponent for it, but I understand it. And I understand the medical principles that are there that impacts and helps people. And I'm not discrediting that either, but I'm just not the proponent for it myself.
Okay. Thank you. Keith?
Yeah, I think that you're right about a few things here that you're talking about. When one, marijuana, is the gateway to a lot of things, and Temecula community not wanting to have that as a something that's going on. It's not really needed, but people in other cities, like you said, has used that to generate funds for the city, to generate money, to be able to take care of things that they didn't have money for, or found ways to use that money. But as you go through California in certain areas, in different cities and stuff like that, it's like open up a marijuana shop in Bel Air. It just ain't gonna happen. And it's just like in Temecula, speaking like, having a Temecula, people are just not, they don't see that as what the communities need, regardless of what money is coming in from it. And I do understand that. So it brings me to this question about, since I live here in Temecula, there's business taxes. There are other types of tax that are that are imposed on the community. Do you see any tax issues in Temecula that you find to be something you want to change, something you want to increase, or areas where you feel that needs to generate more?
Well, I think I'm like every other resident here in Temecula. I don't want no taxes. I wish. I think I'm like everybody else. Can we just get rid of taxes? But unfortunately, taxes are the way local cities are able to really fund and get the things done that they need to do. Right. So, the state is not going to give them money to run this city. All right. So cities have got to do what they need to do in a responsible way to ensure they can take care of their residents. And I don't, and I believe if an issue comes up with raising taxes, that needs to be put before, it needs to be transparency. It needs to be put before the citizens, and they need to make the decision on whether we raise the tax or not. So I think that's something that residents should be able to control. If there's an issue that that leadership wants to change and they can't do it with the regular budget cycle that they have, then and they need to raise taxes to do it, then it should be voted on by the resident. It shouldn't be anything behind the scenes done. It should be right in front of everyone, transparent, so people can make a decision whether to raise the tax or not raise the tax. And it's up to the leadership to make the argument on why it needs to be raised, so they understand if we don't do this, then we will have to go without this, and this will impact this concern that we have in our city. I think if they do a good job of being transparent and explain why it's being raised and for how long it's going to be raised for, to ensure that we keep track and don't go in a hole as far as the budget goes, then I think residents will understand that and support. But when they don't do that and are transparent about it, I think that's when we end up having the issues of residents not respecting and trusting their local government.
Okay. I think you're right about that. Nobody wants taxes to go up, but, and like you said, it's just one of those things that is a trust and balance issue, right? So trusting to make sure whatever you're going to do to ask for tax to be raised, we need to trust that money is going toward exactly what you need it for. Because it's a couple of things that I've learned, in my little political mindset, is that the councilmen on these committees or on these different boards or some of the offices or jobs that you may do while you're on the council. Some of them take money. Some of them they're bought out on whatever political view that they have. How do you find that someone like yourself cannot be bought in that way? Do you see that? Have you how do you feel about those particular councilmen that I read about that's got $1 million because they voted this way or they did this or that, and it's all of this other madness that comes into play inside of the city council?
That's a good question. So there's two forms of local government. There's the mayor council form of government, and there's the council city manager form of government. We fall up under the council city manager, which means that our city council 5 members are voted on the ballot, and they're not full time. So and they get a stipend to do that job, but they have other jobs, so they have income coming in. And then you have a city manager who's hired to run the actual city based on input and oversight from the city council. All right, so they're to carry out that policy and make sure it's set, and they speak with city council to lay out what city council wants to be done, and then it's up to the city manager and his staff to execute. There's not a lot of money flowing around in those positions because they're part-time, they get a stipend, and you can see where the money's going, right? You know what they're making. Citizens can go on sites and see what your city council's making if you have some concerns about salaries and things like that. Now, the mayor council form of government are those full-time personnel that are paid, like a Los Angeles, right? It's a larger city. So they have a mayor full-time that's being paid. This is supposed to be nonpartisan, particularly at our level, the council and the city manager level, nonpartisan. But I've heard the stories that I've seen. I watch the news as well, and I've seen city council members and mayors get in trouble in certain cities because they think there's no oversight, no one's watching. Big Brother's not watching. In my perspective of those guys, that's not a person who has character or integrity. When they abuse the responsibility of their job for personal gain, then they don't deserve to be in a position ever again. They don't deserve to lead anyone ever again or be in those positions of power ever again. Again, some who get in trouble find themselves, they just love the power, right? They love being seen. They love the power of being in a position. And sometimes it gets to them and their head gets big and they forget the responsibilities of why they're there. And when that happens, high accountability. I mean, they should be dealt with immediately, just like any other resident out here. They don't get any special favor just because they hold a position. I'm a man of integrity and character. If I do something like that, I expect to be held accountable.
Can you explain a little bit about the difference? Because I'm trying to, I worked down in San Diego. I don't know if you ever heard of Roger Hitchcock. Roger Hitchcock, years ago, he was the mayor of San Diego. And he did some crazy stuff back then, but he has a radio show. But can you explain a little bit about how those two things work? Because I met the mayor here that was before. I guess he was the interim mayor. I forget his name. And he has a council, and then you're saying that there's a secondary set of people that either are oversee. Can you explain that dynamic between the two? Because I know there's a mayor of Temecula, and I know he has a council. But is the city council something different? Can you kind of give us a little rundown education on that?
Yeah. So speaking of Temecula, so our local government is a council city manager type of local government. So everyone on the council is equal. So every year, what will happen in Temecula is at the end of the year, they will have a vote between the five of them to see who's going to be mayor for the following year, and also who's going to be mayor pro tem. Mayor pro tem is second in charge. When the mayor can't be there, mayor pro tem's there. So their responsibility is to be the bigger head of the council, but they don't have any special privileges. They just hold the title of mayor for that year. Their voting power is the same as the regular city council. They're not overriding. They can't shut the other city council members down. They don't have 99% of the vote versus 1% of everybody else. So they can't override anything because we go by Robert's rules. Majority wins. You make your argument, they put it to a vote, and the majority wins. And you may not always win. So the mayor and the city council manager form of government is co-equal with the council members. So they're just the person that, they'll go out and shake hands, be a visual person, have the title of mayor, but their vote is no more powerful than the other city council members because they'll hold the position for you 1 year. And at the end of the year, they'll all vote again for who's going to hold it for the next year. And that's how they do it. But it gives the mayor the title of mayor, and they will be the ones speaking with the city managers, but the city council members all have equal responsibility to speak to the staff as well. So that's the council city manager form of government, and that's what we have here in Temecula. So we're a city of over 100,000 residents, But when you get to those large municipalities such as San Diego and LA, because they're so large, and it takes a full-time staff to be able to hold that down, and that's where the mayor, like in Los Angeles, is a full-time position, along with city council members as well, because it takes a lot to hold that huge land mass of LA County and Los Angeles together. So, but yes, those are the difference between, and right now, Temecula is in a city council, city manager form of government.
Okay, that makes sense, because I met the mayor and had a nice long, almost hour and a half, 2 hour meeting with him. And in the next few months or so, he was gone.
Yeah.
I was like, well, now I know he got voted out. I was like, oh my God, how did that happen? I got something in the mail. Like, he's not there no more. I was like, well, that just happened, right? Like not too long ago. He's a young guy.
Yeah, we switched over. We switched over in January. So yeah, just a couple months ago.
So it's a new one there. So a little bit more I'd like to talk about, and maybe you can, and this is in the Temecula area that you can probably, because when you were talking about homeless and things like that, how far out does the Temecula boundary go where you guys have the ability to look at these vacant land? There's vacant lands, there's buildings that's not being used. There are things in the community that can be, I don't know what it is, but I just find that there's got to be ways to either reduce the rent so they can become used, or work with people so that a lot of this property can be utilized. Is that something that you've seen, or is that something in in the city council that you'll be looking at?
Well, I can tell you, it's something that that is always being looked at in regards to how can we best utilize the land we have here. The challenge is this is an older city, and Temecula is right in between. So Fallbrook, from the south of us, comes up and touches our borders, and then we have Marietta on the top, on the north of us. And then if you go back out east, you got Winchester, which is unincorporated, Anza, out in that area. That's all unincorporated. So our city goes there. And then if you go to the west, once you cross over into Old Town, and then right up on the foothills of those mountains on the back of Old Town, once you go up on top of that, on top of those mountains there, that's Duluth. So that's where we border with Duluth, which is unincorporated again. So we have. And if you look around, we have our communities are pretty good, well master plan in regards to housing. Got to have schools, got to have shopping in an area, and we don't want our residents to drive more than 5-10 minutes to get to all that, right? So over the years, Temecula has been masterly planned to ensure that happens. So like I said, we're almost built out. I mean, you're not talking about a city like Menifee, who's just getting started with their build out. They're going to be over 300,000 residents in Menifee, which is, it's Temecula, Marietta, and then Menifee on the other side of that. So they're building up, and they're going to have a larger population than probably both Marietta and Temecula. So the buildings that you talk about, the leadership here is always looking at it. And what I would always be looking at is the fact that, business opportunities, we have empty buildings. That's an opportunity for business to come in. How can we get them in the space, and how can we help them stay in the space? Because a lot of those, after COVID, we had a lot of buildings empty, and we're getting there. We're filling those buildings back up with businesses and entrepreneurs who are coming to our city to make sure that our economy is vibrant. So we need to continue to look at that, look at the empty buildings, know where they're at, and seeing how we can get business owners in here. As far as housing, there are not a lot of housing units that are empty in Temecula because, we do a good job. Leadership does a good job of getting on that and seeing how they can repurpose and what can they do to make sure that, the housing is available. Other than, housing owners, vacating homes, the city, doesn't get involved with that. That's a personal decision homeowners when they're struggling to try to do that. But most times those properties don't stay on the market for long before people start buying, because people like this area. They like the wineries, they like Old Town, and they like Pachanga. We got three things that pump money into our economy. That's really good. The Pachanga, when they come here, they stay in Temecula and they spend money. The wineries on the weekend, they go out to wineries. Guess where they stay? They stay off of Jefferson, our hotels here, and they pump money back into our economy. And then Old Town, every weekend, it's packed. That's pumping money back into our economy. So the leadership here does a good job of ensuring that we have a well-balanced budget and we have a surplus going into every year. And we try to meet the needs of our residents as best we can. And my expectations going in is to continue to look at opportunities to bring businesses in, to fill these buildings up with businesses that are going to be able to sustain themselves for a long period of time. And that we really focus on our entrepreneurs, because we really want the economy to flourish. And for an economy to flourish, you got to have businesses, you got to have entrepreneurs who are able to sustain their businesses here in the city.
Yeah, you're right about that. You know, Temecula is a little bit of a middle class neighborhood to upper class to some areas. And I was just thinking when you were talking about the delusion, the stuff that's in the hills. I went up there one day and met this young couple up there, and I tell you, man, they had the beautiful spread up there. I could not believe. It seemed like it was $3 million. It's just overlooking everything, and I was like, and then I saw that they had all these fruits all over the place and just falling on the ground. I was like, maybe I just get a job just going out there just collecting fruits, because they seem like they too busy. They too busy. I'll pick them oranges up and go. I'll be right next to them. Everybody else, I'll be picking them up, trying to sell them. It's a whole bunch of them out there. I just I never knew that. And my sister's been here since like 95.
Okay.
29 years or whatever it is. And I remember coming down 79 and there was nothing out here. There was nothing out here but these 4 little model homes. And you say you guys are built out already and nowhere else to go. So is those wineries that we go to that's close to my house, is that not in Temecula, or is that kind of like the Riverside County considered?
That's Riverside County. So yeah, when they're out in the unincorporated areas, Riverside County takes care of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All those wineries don't belong to Temecula. A lot of people get it confused. They think that those wineries are in Temecula because they associate Temecula with wine country, right? That's what they call us up here. And they think those wineries are in the city. We benefit from those wineries from an economic standpoint, but no, they don't belong. They don't belong to the city. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good. Well, that's crazy, because I always thought that they say, "Oh, I'm going to the Temecula winery." I'm like, Temecula winery, but I go 5 minutes away, and next thing you know, you're at the winery, and they out there, selling and making a killing out there. And I never went too far up in there, but one of the other things I know that's happening in the community is this construction of the freeway, which is that portion of that is governed by Temecula, and how is that working, and what do you see the benefit of what is going on there?
Yeah, in Temecula, our public works department is working diligently on that freeway exchange. And again, my wife, she commutes down to Point Loma almost every other day, and coming back is when she going down when she hits the traffic, and then coming back when she hits the traffic. And it's all about that 215 because of the numbers that are moving out to Menifee, and then everyone trying to get on and get off of Temecula Parkway, Rancho California, and then Winchester. That's where it bottlenecks at, and then transitioning when you come up past Winchester to get off the 215 to go to Menifee, and then whether you're going to go straight up to 15 to go to up to Marietta. That's where that bottlenecks happens, and so what they're building is the opportunity to people to. What's going to happen is you're going to be able to transition off of Temecula Parkway and get out of traffic before you get there, or you're going to be able to transition off onto Rancho California or Winchester without getting into the traffic that needs to go straight to merge off onto 215. So that's going to help a lot when people come off. They can get over to that fifth lane all the way over to the right, and then they can merge off of those three streets, which will take a lot of the traffic out that's going up to the 215 merge. So also there's going to be over ramp. As you can see, there's a ramp there that's going to take some of the traffic off. It's going to be going straight up to 15, and also be able to get them onto the 215 as well. So when it's done, it should open up traffic for right now, but we know that Menifee is going to be building up, right? So we don't know what that looks like in the next 5 to 10 years when Menifee starts putting homes in and there are more people coming in. So not only will they put more homes in, they're going to bring more businesses into Menifee as well. So hopefully it satisfies that traffic need, because right now those plans were years ago in the making, right? That just doesn't, they don't come together and say we're going to work on the roads right now. That was approved years ago and finally got the money to actually start that process. And it's going to take a little while because it's a lot of work. It's coordination between the city of Temecula, and then, the freeways really belong to Caltrans. But, the city of Temecula is having to take a heavy lift on this one to get this done, but they were doing a great job in trying to get it done. So I'm hoping that this frees up the bottleneck and prevents and helps people who are trying to merge into Temecula, right, off of Temecula Parkway, Rancho California, and Winchester. At least get us off the road so they can continue to transit up to Menifee to their homes as well.
Well, I think that's also going to make another more money to the city too, because people will be able to feel a little bit better about getting off the freeway. That's one of the things. They just keep on going home, but you got all these other shopping centers and things that are in Temecula that might help to build the economy up here in Temecula. Even though I know you, like you said, you can't build another house anywhere because you're building out already. A couple of questions I have left, and I'm gonna pass it over to Razak. And I want to know if there's any challenges or triumphs that you in your life that you had to deal with.
Man, challenges and triumphs. So I think challenges for me was my mom passed at 60-something years old. I think she was 66 or something like that, from cancer. And that was a challenge for me because my mom was mom and dad. My biological father didn't step up to the plate and do his responsibility. So I weighed heavily on her, and I had 2 sisters and 1 brother, and she was married. But all transparency, we dealt with the domestic violence stuff with her. So another challenging time in my life, and trying to get through that, and and then losing her, early because she was a rock for me, and that was a major struggle. So triumphs in my life is again, serving in the military for 27 years, finishing my bachelor's and my master's degree, staying engaged with the community as I've being able to give back, and the love of my life, my wife and my kids. Those are triumphs for me as well. And and then being a part of the READY Commission, Race, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Commission in the city, has opened up a lot of eyes in regards to being a voice for the voiceless. We try to go talk to everyone, special needs, our elderly, our seniors, our students, and everybody in between, that all different demographics and cultures, to try to bring that voice back to city council, let them know, hey, maybe that we need to do things this way, maybe we need to do things that way. One of the things we've accomplished, which I really love, is the fact that we host a culture fest every year where we celebrate everyone. We just had it just recently this past weekend, and a couple thousand people were there for it. And that's one of the things that came out of Ready Commission. We need an event where we can celebrate everyone. We know we have the months and we celebrate the month, but why not bring all cultures together and just have a great celebration, and just for us to build relationships and grow closer together. And I stand on the fact that, for me, I want to bring unity back into our community, because I think we've lost a lot of that coming out of COVID and the political climate that we've been in. So again, my focus is just bringing that unity back to our community. So.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and not only this community, but all communities across the world is trying to bring that together. But like they say, you got to start at home first. You got to start in front of what's in front of your face, And my last question, and
Yes.
I'm going to pass it to Razak, is you talked about your parents, but were there particular role models, someone that, hey, you thought about that was out there that, got you where the path you're on now, or what, kind of made you who you are in a certain way outside of your parents?
Yeah. That's good. That's good. My role models. I mean, I still have to. The first role model for me is my mom. So I'm gonna stick her there. But people be interesting. I remember growing up. Not a lot of men were stepping up to fill the void that I didn't have a biological father and interact and engage. My mom was married, but the person she was married to only showed us alcoholism and just struggle. So it wasn't a good role model. Yeah, and my uncles, they didn't step up to try to fill the void. They were busy with their families, right? And then I went in the military. I can tell you right now, it was women for me. Those are the ones that were the role models for me, because those are the ones that kept grabbing me, saying, encouraging me, lifting me up. Yeah, I remember my first chief in the Navy. Chief is E7, and she's enlisted, and she's that first leader, on the enlisted side, that keeps you gauged and keep you interactive and show you the way. So she was the first one that came to me and said, "Hey, you're going to be down here. You're going to lead 110 people." I said, "I just got in the Navy. I've been in the Navy 2 years. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that." So I thought I could turn her down. And she told me, "Yeah, on Monday morning, be in my office at 7:45. You better not be late." And I'm like, and I looked at her back then. Yeah, I'm 6'2", but I don't know why she looked like she was 7 foot tall, man, but she was shorter than me. Her voice and her she shared herself made me like, I was like trembling. Okay, I'll be down there. I'll be down there in the morning, Monday morning. So got down there and she showed me the way, showed me how to lead people. And man, I never looked back. I mean, I've always wanted to lead after that. I'm like, because I didn't think I could do it, but someone saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, which encouraged me. Hey, you can do it. And I did it, and I never looked back. And then the other one would be a captain, an officer in the Navy, who I led her whole division, and she just came and encouraged me. You can't do anything wrong. I need you to change this for the better. What can we do? And she accepted every iota of anything I put in front of her in regards to, hey, I think we need to do it that way. Let's try it. She's like, just try it. We're not killing anybody, so we can learn from it. We're gonna learn how to do better, or we're gonna learn that this is the way we should do it. And so that was the other role model for me. But there were other people, but those are the ones that stood out. It was always women for me, man, that encouraged me. That mom spirit, because that's where I came from. And that's why I kind of gravitated to when women came in leadership position. They always saw something in me. They always encouraged me, like my mom, and say, "Hey, you can do it. You need to get out there and do it. This is going to make you stand out from the pack." And those were the ones that kind of stood out for me. A lot of mentors while I was in the military, but most of my mentors were in the military outside of my mom.
Wow, that's a powerful thing, man, because women, they make the world go around. If you don't know it, you're about to find out, And,
I know, man. My wife tells me all the time.
You're about to find out. So when you out there knocking on those doors and you talk, they said, "Let me speak to your wife." Let me talk to her, because she's the one that's going to get you to vote. She's the one that's going to get you out there. So let me make sure I talk to her. If she ain't in the house, where is the woman of the house? Anybody in there? Get it?
Yep.
Yeah, my goodness, man. Hey, on you, Razak.
Okay. All right. I'm shifting gears a little bit here, diving into another subject matter. Okay, so as a Black man in politics, right? You went to serve in your country, came out, got your degrees, got your education, got into politics, and can you share a personal experience or moment that has shaped your perspective on race and identity?
Yeah, man, I see, because I mean, the skin ain't changing, right? So it's always gonna be. But I've had
not today.
I know exactly, not today, right? So, I mean, my wife, growing up, I'm from the South, man. So I understood the disparity between, white and black, because it was pretty in your face down in Memphis, Tennessee, when I was growing up. There was, a stark difference between people of color, black, and then for those who were white down there, and then, I joined the military. But when I got in the military, things start to look different. So if I'm a guy coming from a majority black city, and it was real when they say when black people move in, that's white flight, right? So white people move out. So you see that down in the South. We saw that growing up, and not understanding it. And I went in the military, and then I saw this great melting pot of people right around you, And when I noticed, they were coming from all walks of life, and they were trying to better themselves and get and do better for their life and how they wanted to move forward. And I just got to, at that point in time is when I started learning about, okay, we're all from different walks of life. We all want to make things better. And as a black man rolling through that, it took some understanding. It took some really looking from, because where I'm coming from, I'm already reserved in regards to, what is this person trying to gain from me, or how they try to put me down. But, I remember leading a young man whose grandfather was the Grand Ku Klux Klan. I knew that because one day he broke down because he was getting in trouble a lot. And he finally, I met him, like, this one-on-one conversation. What is going on with you? He said, the nightmares, I can't get them out of my head, because he's seen some crazy things over his lifetime with his parents, and they instilled that in him. And he came to the military, and he started to figure out, man, people are not like what they've been telling me. So now he starts to struggle within his members in regards to, everything I lived was a lie, and mentally it exploded, and I was accepting to understand that and meet him where he was, because guess what? He was indoctrinated, so he didn't know no better. But everything changed for him when it changed his perspective when he came to the military. It changed my perspective because I started dealing with other people. I know I am confident in who I am as a black man. I don't walk around in any fear of anything. So I walk, instead of walking away, I walk right in. Many times I am the only black person in the room, and that's fine for me because I'm confident in who I am, and I'm able to walk in there, step in there, and get the things I need to done, say what I need to say in a professional manner, and get out. I don't let anybody minimize me. I don't let anybody put me down. I don't let anybody treat me like I'm less than. I can stand up for myself on that aspect. So over the course of the years of my life, as an adult, I haven't had a lot of the struggles that most people have. I don't know if it's my demeanor and the way I carry myself, but I haven't had to put the fight, or I haven't had to have the argument, or I haven't had someone come in and say the N word to me directly. Now, systemically, they may have been doing something, but that wasn't, things that are in my face that I've had to deal with. But I've heard people in the city or in surrounding city that have struggled with that, and I don't minimize them. I listen to them, and when it's proven, I'm ready to deal with it and address it head on. But like I said, individually, me growing up through the years, 18 years old, yes. When I was in the military, I've led people from all walks of life, every color, whatever. Never had an issue of them following my leadership. I can't tell you when they said when they went home, but I can tell you when they're in front of me, they're doing what I tell them to do, because that's what leaders do. And if you're a great leader, they're going to follow you because you can connect with them and where they are. I am who I am. I'm Mary Faulkner Graham. She's that, and then Finney is her last name. I'm her son, and I'm a proud African American man who walks in who he is and who's confident in who he is as well. And this political thing doesn't change that for me. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it for anything other than the fact that I know that I can lead better and I can connect with everyone no matter what they are. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, I like that answer. That was good.
Right on.
Yeah, that was good answer. That was good answer. Okay, so let me ask you this also. All right, so now that we have you know mentorship, so like as you say, you're a leader. You're being looked at as somebody who has started from down on the bottom of let's just call it, you're down on the bottom. You went into the military. You got into education. You're diving into the politics, and so you have seen the worst, and now you're seeing what how you progress, how you fight through, how you get through it. So, in a leadership mindset, how do you think, in your opinion, the Black community, minority community? I know you mentioned the Culture Fest where everybody comes together. So I guess we don't have to generalize it as a Black community, but at the same time, as a Black man, a lot of young Black kids are going to see you as their role model, and see you as somebody who's progressing, successful. How would you how can you work towards creating more opportunities? How can they create more opportunities for each other?
Well, that's a great question. I like that. I've always looked at myself as a mentor, a coach, an opportunity to and look for opportunities to actually open doors, particularly young men that look like me, like young men. I mean, I'm open to every young man if they're open to receiving the coaching and mentoring. But I like to be an inspiration for young men that look like me, who don't see anyone when they look on TV or in their space that that's succeeding and being successful. That's the reason for my church, I mentor young men. I got a young man that just went to college at San Jose State, and I've been mentoring him since he was like a little dude. And this was a single mom. This was a single mom that said, "I've been watching you, and not watching me like that, but watching me in regards to how I carry myself and everything like that. And would you mind, my son's dad is not in his life, and I would like someone like you to try to fill that gap if you wouldn't mind." And the first thing, I went to my wife and I said, "Baby, it's a single mom. She goes to church. You know her. Is it? Would you mind if I mentor her son?" So I had to make sure my wife was good with it, because this is a single lady. I don't want to get caught up in anything. So, and my wife met her. We talked, and she said, "Good to go." And I started mentoring this young man and helping them navigate. But the impact of him being mentored by someone that looked like him is unmeasurable, man. He tells me today. I get his personal notes. "Mr. E, I couldn't have done this without you." He got recognized and got a scholarship at an event for the Deltas were putting on, a huge event. And I went there. I wasn't expecting it. He was in the speech, and he said, "Mr. E, you've been highly impactful in my life, and I appreciate you walking me through this and the struggles I've been going through, and answering the questions that helped me navigate this." Man, I broke down crying, because he didn't know he was helping me, as much as I was helping him. I'm a member of Big Brothers Big Sisters. This is how passionate I am about this, and I mentor a young man as well right now. He's in middle school, getting ready to go to a freshman in high school, and I'm there for him, just to have the conversations. One thing that's missing in our society, I mean, I would tell you the truth, Black men are not rising up to fill these voids. But I talk to Big Brothers Big Sisters all the time, and guess what they need? The main thing they need is some Black men to come and support their program. When my kids graduated high school and they were out and I had all this time on my hand, I said, I started getting this thing getting in my head, like the word says, "To whom much is given, much is required," right? So I started like, well, I have time on my hands, so I can be impactful in my community. And one of the ways I can be impactful is mentoring these young men who are fatherless, who need someone. And it doesn't take a lot. I tell guys, a phone call, go get them, go grab something to eat, and just talk about their issues. Texting them, and having conversations, and helping them navigate. They're young men being raised by a woman who doesn't understand what being a man is, who can't instill that into them. So it takes someone that looks like them, who understands that, to navigate them through it, for them to come out successful on the other side. So I just think, I think it's important that they see someone like that. I think when you see someone that's successful, that looks like you, it does something. It's impactful on these kids, and to know that they can actually achieve it. If there's representation there that looks like that, whether they're a young lady or a young man, it is important, and it's important that for us to have time, because our young men are struggling right now, and many of them are coming from single mother homes, and we have, like, black men need to get engaged more if they have the time to do it. I know there's a lot going on in life, but if you have the time to do it, we have got to fill that gap. I'm from a city, Memphis, Tennessee, man. It is all our war down there. Man, and it's people just being held hostage. You have to go out and get everything done before the light goes down, because that's when stuff starts to happen. So it's a struggle. It's something that to gain it back, we have got to get in. We have got to get engaged. But I think representation matter, and I love being a coach. I love being a mentor. I love talking to young men, because I know that's where we need to reach into. Our ladies are our young women are successful. I got a house in Atlanta. I can tell you, when you go down there, they're CEOs, they're presidents of companies. I mean, it's the young black men that are struggling behind them, and we need to try to make an impact there. So,
right, man, that's great.
Wow.
You said a lot right there. You said a lot right there. Man, let me just sit there and bask in those words you just said. Can you share? Okay, so you was just doing a lot right now. You was saying the mentorship, the leadership role, helping young men get. I'm going to assume, a lot of people don't have so much options, from either street crime versus somebody who's actually doing something that's productive, legally, and in a longevity sense of career mindedness. Can you share a project or an initiative that you are currently working on that you have an excitement about?
Yeah, I mean, again, so a couple things that I'm excited about is the work I've been doing with the Ready Commission, because it's been highly impactful to make sure that those voices are heard from what I just spoke about. So we go out and talk to all the different communities that may be underrepresented, and to make sure that voice comes back, so that feedback comes back to City Council, and they start to look at, hey, how can we be inclusive in how we develop, how we plan, how we create processes to allow residents to connect. So that's one thing I'm really proud of. The other projects I'm proud of is, again, just being engaged in this Big Brothers Big Sisters program. There is nothing better that I get out of that than being involved with that as well. So mentorship and guidance is something that we need to really focus on as a city. How do we connect people that don't feel connected to the city? How do we reach out? How do we bring them into the fold, get them connected to what we're trying to do? All of this comes down to communication and opportunity for people to really get engaged, and particularly building the leadership of tomorrow, which is in our cities, our youth that are growing up. They need opportunities to understand what that looks like, and we should be poised to step out and fill that void and make that interaction. So those are the things, those are the things I really like doing and engaging in, and look forward to, again, pushing to another level as we head towards City Council as well.
Right. You have about a couple more questions for you, then I'll pass it back. What are your thoughts on? I mean, well, you're mentoring kids. You're doing your thing in politics and the family home life. What was your thoughts would be on legacy and how you're going about building that, and what does it mean to you?
I tell you, legacy means a lot to me. I mean, again, what am I leaving for the next generation, right? And how am I making an impact with the time I have on this earth? So that's always one of the things I look at. I want to continue to challenge myself. I don't want to get comfortable. It's easy to get comfortable and just lay back. Okay, this is all I can do. There's no other ways to challenge myself. When I got the military, I challenged myself in the military. Military makes you challenge yourself because you want to make rank and you want to be in a leadership position. So there's things you have to do to beat out your peers to be in that position. So the same thing I look at it out of here as well. How can I continue to challenge myself? With the Ready Commission, with the Big Brothers Big Sisters. Now we're running for city council, and then other things that I do as well to ensure that I continue to challenge myself. But also really sharing that with my kids, with my nieces, with my brothers and sisters, to really show them that they can do it too, and share that. I mean, we have a responsibility to be impactful in the lives of people. I mean, not just your family and friends, but if there's an opportunity to impact someone's life, I mean, and it's not costing you arm and leg, why not do it? And then sharing that information with my kids to understand that, hey, there's levels to this, and doesn't mean you're going to get there right away, but there's steps you have to take to make it to where you want to be. All right. So, and I understand there will be obstacles in the way that you're going to have to move, but guess what? The obstacles can be moved if you give 100% towards it. Challenge yourself. Never get comfortable. I mean, once you're done with this and it kind of gets old, look for something else that you're passionate about, that you want to get engaged with, that you can make better. And then sharing that information with people, say, hey, here's a blueprint. I'm just sharing the blueprint with you. You take it or leave it. I can't force you to take it, but I'm sharing with this is how you do this. This is the steps you need to take to get here. So now that I've handed it to you, it's up to you whether you want to take it or not. But I want to let you know I'm trying to open a door for you and show you how you can do it as well. I mean, you can be the next city council. You can be the next commissioner. You can be the next master chief in the United States Navy. But it takes work and determination and drive to really get it. It's not just going to be handed into your lap. You got to work for it. All right. And you got to press to get to where you want to be. So that's what I was saying.
All right. Thank you. Let me ask you one more question. And okay, so I think we kind of touched on it, but I don't know. I kind of, how do you think the Black community, minority community, can work towards healing and addressing intergenerational trauma? And I think you might have touched on it a little bit earlier, but as far as like the as you said, you have the one parent home that the father may be gone. You have in certain instances where the mother could be gone and the father could be raising the kids, or there's some issues in the household going on. There's a lot of people what we have had on the podcast. Some of them, they've all experienced some type of trauma at some time in life. Do you have an opinion on how to work towards healing and addressing that?
So I agree with the trauma. So like I said, we dealt with my mom dealing with domestic violence as a kid, and the impact it had. Not only that, but you talk to a guy whose father said, "No, I'm good. I want to raise a young man. I don't want to have anything to do with it," and didn't live up to his expectations. I think someone has to break the chain, and someone has to say, I'm responsible. How do I get this? How do I get our family back together? It's a tough deal because we're dealing with years and years and years of this lifestyle of going through something, going through the trauma, and then really not resolving it, but rolling right into the next thing, and nothing ever is resolved until it gets to a head where it all explodes, right? Because we haven't dealt with what happened in our childhood and what happened as we're coming out of high school, heading out to life. How do we get there? It is a tough question, and I'm sure many scholars have had to try to figure this out. But I know we're not there yet. I know we have a lot to do. And how do we come together as a community and say, how do we pool our resources to make sure that we get ourselves back on track and get past this and start to work with each other instead of against each other, right? There's some way. I wish I had the answer for you, or even had an answer to give, but I think it's just a struggle until we come together as a community. Just say, hey, we just need to sit down and see how we right side this ship and get it back on path. And the examples we can use in regards to our family coming together. It's about that generation. We got to start creating generational wealth, and it takes for us to have conversation. And when we look at some of the models there who keep their kids home until they're married. Some cultures keep their kids stay with them until they're married, so they can save up money. They help to pay off the house they're in with their parents, right? And then they move on to the next house. Those are models that we need to start looking at. If every kid is not ready to go out there at 18 years if we haven't prepared them, right? So how about we pour into them again, give them a job? Guess what? While you're here, if I got 3, 4 kids and all of them had jobs and I pay off the principal on this house, I can get this house paid off early so I can start helping them get on their feet. So there's some things that we can do and look at, and some models out there that we can bring in to see how we can right side. But it's a tough one because you're talking about Temecula is 3 to 4%, 3 to 4% black. So when you look at the demographics, they're more white. There are more whites here, and then the second highest demographic is Hispanics, and then the next generation. I mean, the next demographic is Asian Americans, and then down here, 3 to 4% is Black Americans, and underneath others, Native Americans in this city. But the demographics shift. Like I'm from Memphis, the Black community is about 80-90% there. In the city. We got suburb areas. And that changes how we look at things when we look at the demographic shifts, right? So those are some of the things that we have to take into consideration. How we just continue to get better. We're doing great. I mean, we are competing against everyone else. You see our kids. I mean, some of them are getting 130. I just saw a thing, 130 some scholarships. This young lady got another one that aced the ACT and SAT test. So, and when you look at sports, entertainment, we're doing well. But how do we pull all that and share and real estate and all the other things that we do in banking to make sure that we pull everyone else up, right? How do we share and pull everything up instead of looking at it as if that person comes up, I'm gonna lose something. We got to look at no, I'm good. Let me get the rest of them. Let me pull the rest of them up.
Yeah, exactly. Keith.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said for the fact of faith, right? Because faith is one of those things that leads to a lot of the things that you're talking about in change. We have to be able to believe that we can get this ship right, and that requires everybody that we see, we talk to, that we respect. We say hi, we say, how you doing, and how was your day? We got to stop looking at each other as some sort of a low-key enemy or someone that you don't want to succeed. Because whenever we start to succeed, and it's kind of like when we talk about me and Razak on this podcast, is the whole basis for this podcast was to uplift, right? We're trying to uplift small entrepreneurs, people that are not seen, people that are doing these pop-up tents and out there at these places that they're just showing their product. They have no way of knowing if anybody even recognized them. So we're trying to say, okay, we're going to show you, we're going to put eyes on you, because we need that for our kids to see. Because when they see it, they're going to say, I can. They're going to say, there's something that I can do because I see mama do it, or I see my uncle do it. I see my neighbor doing it, and I want to do that too because I want to be able to get something out of what my abilities, because some people have a lot of abilities, but they're sitting on the couch and not doing anything with them. So I think what you're talking about and how we're communicating today, and your aspiration for going for this seat, right? This seat is based on all of those things. All of those things are coming forward because you are, you know, been mentoring, you've been leading, you've been doing all these things that allows people to see, you know what, you're steady being looked at every step you go, even if you don't even know it. Somebody's
Right.
looking at you. You said that lady was looking at you. You didn't know, you ain't looking at you like that, but she looking at you because she sees something her son needs. And in the
Yeah.
black community, that's one of the biggest things that the men, like you said, the organization that, you know, needs more men to show up. That is how we turn this ship around. That's how we
Mhm.
get back to creating generational wealth, because everything we put our mind to doing, we succeed. Whether it's
Yeah.
sports, whether it's, you know, any all of these other areas, and like you're talking about education as well. So, and here we are talking about you going to city council, getting these votes out to, and you know what, and it doesn't have to be just like, I hate to go on, but it's like just blacks, because when you're asking for votes, 3% ain't gonna get you there. So you got to be able to use, everybody else got to be able to see the same thing, and not
Mhm.
be able to see you as something other, right? They see you
Right.
as what you are and how you've been doing, carrying yourself, how you built your
Yeah.
life, and how you've been a leadership. And those are the things that they can count on when you get in the office. When you
Yeah.
get there and the problem come to you, and you using your mind and your wisdom and your understanding from Mississippi to here,
Mhm.
you're going to come up with a balanced decision because you're bringing a lot to the table. You're
Yeah.
bringing a lot to the table, and I think that that is the power of, you know, of someone like yourself. And I can't appreciate, I mean, can't thank you enough, one, for coming on the podcast, and two, for being able to do this. But I like to ask
Mhm.
you about any books or anything like that that you read in your spare time that allow you to like grasp more knowledge that helps you balance yourself in your goal.
Awesome. Well, you made some valued points when you were talking as well. I mean, uh, my faith guides me in who I am. You know, I'm like, and you know, it starts there. That balance is because, you know, my faith and my connection to God really pushes me to understand that, you know, and when I say I don't have fear in man, I really don't. I mean, I got fear in him, but I don't have fear in man. So this, and when people are concerned about Eric, you know, this is a Republican, you know, stronghold or whatever, I said, that's fine. I mean, a way will be made out of no way. I'm like, so I'm stepping in. I'm like, I'm not stepping away. I'm stepping forward with it. So in addition to, you know, just what you're talking about, just being able to connect with everybody. I'm a guy who doesn't, you know, there's no, I don't want people to look at me as the black guy running for the city council. I want them to look at me. I already know I'm black. You don't need to tell me that. But I want them to know me as a person who can connect across all spectrums and meet people where they are. I don't care your political affiliation. I don't care what your religious position is. I don't care what culture you're coming from. Uh, the responsibility of city council is to take care of people, no matter where they come from. And it's all about improving their quality of life and keep it at a standard where they feel safe and they feel like they can connect. So that is the responsibility of city council, and that doesn't have a color or anything attached to it. It has to be the right person with the right character and integrity to actually be able to actually perform the job. And you know, and that's where I'm coming from. And as I'm answering that, what was your question again? Give it to me again.
Mhm.
No, I think I was asking about any books or anything like that,
Yes,
any
yes,
other
yes,
things that you brought to yourself to
yes,
get you where you are, because sometimes, you know, you got to have that free time where you're sitting back, say, you know what, how can I you know, build on this, you know,
yes.
what's giving me that energy.
Well, I mean, there's a couple books. You know, one thing, a book I'm reading now. I wish I had it right here with me. Is a book on emotional intelligence. It's just being able to master your emotions as you're dealing with different situations. And it really lines with what I'm doing right now with City Council, because I'm going to encounter people that agree or disagree with me adamantly, or to the point where they're going to be boisterous and things like that. And I need to be able to navigate through that and not lose my poise. I have to be patient and persistent in dealing with people where they are. And many times people are going to, try to drive you out of character. And I have to make sure I maintain my emotional intelligence to be able to balance that out. So the book I'm reading right now, it's a great read. I'll share it with you, but I don't have it here. But it's really helping me understand how to deal with my emotions when I'm dealing with difficult people, right? So it's really balanced. As I'm going out having conversation, I find myself in a better space in regards to, okay, I don't care how crazy this meeting may go. I don't care how they come at me. I'm building my armor to have really thick skin to be able to navigate it. So this book is helping me. So that those have been the latest reads. But a lot of my things that I read it's all about leadership, being a better leader, not only in corporate America as a city politician, and in my home, as a husband and a father. Those are leadership roles that you need to have to understand how to navigate those. So most of the books I read are in line with being a great leader, being a great communicator, and again controlling my and taking charge of my emotional intelligence is what I've been really focused on. And lately it's been all about digging into city politics, understanding it, because I know there's a war, a battle coming in July to November that I have to be prepared for. So I've just been digging in, getting smart on everything, picking the brains of people who've been in there, other mentors who ran for city council and held the positions before, to make sure I am equipped for the battle and am ready to take this seat. So that's really what I've been digging in for the last year.
Well, you know what? Like I said, that is a big part of some of the things you mentioned there. Is a big part of what you need to be well-rounded for political office, and no matter where you're starting at or how you're going to go about it, is that emotional balancing act that you got to do. Because what I was gonna, talk about and wonder is, sometimes not everybody's riding on your ship when you're going for your next level in life. You always gonna have some haters, and the hater could be right inside the house. Tell you the truth. I don't know why you're doing this. I don't know what you're doing this for, or whatever it is. The kids like, Dad, you're not spending no time. You missed out on this again, and all of this. How do you balance those things when the boat's going one way and everybody else is sitting there going, man, why you left us behind?
I'm with you on that. One of the things I talk about the struggle when you come in here, I had a party, one of the political parties tell me, hey, Eric, if you don't switch, we can't help you. And another political party like, we can't do it for you, because you're not this. Because you have to get all these endorsements, stuff like that. So the balance, you talk about the haters. I would just say, I'm going to be Eric, and whether you support me or not, I'm still running. It doesn't discourage me. I'm still going. I'm still moving forward with or without you to really focus on taking that seat. I think it comes down to communication, man. Like even when my wife disagreed, I can always relate it back to the lack of communication and really defining where I want to go and really painting a picture that shows the path forward, or her doing the same thing. So it comes down to making sure your message is communicated effectively and to where people understand it. And sometimes it takes asking the question. You understand what I told you, right? So there can't be any misinterpretation of what you just articulated to them. So you have to make sure that, the message is, you say the message, you make sure it's understood by a read back to you. Because if you can get that under control, that is the main thing. Not saying that I get it under control all the time. I mean, many times it's on me to make sure I do that better. But haters are going to come, man. I just navigate around them. I know who they are. They show their face right off the bat. And if you're able to read people effectively, okay, I came to you once, but I'm not coming back again because I see what you're about. So even in this, you've got to be able to read people. A lot of people is not in it for you, man. A lot of people want to get close to you, enough to see what you're doing to try to tear you down. So you got to be able to read people like a book, and everybody you can't trust, man. I find out that you really have to walk a really thin line in regards to who you let in, because people are asking information about what you're doing just to try to use it against you. So you really have to have to make sure you have the right people in your corner to support you. You know.
Yeah, I think
you
you're
said it all
absolutely
right
right
there.
about that. You said it all right there, because that, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, or you're business owner, or you're searching for a leadership job, or you try to be a leader, there's always going to be somebody there to try to tear you down from that. So my thing is, understanding leads to no misunderstanding. So once you can create understanding, then you have taken out misunderstanding, because that means therefore you've been clear about what it is, and then there's no misunderstanding. So let's just move on from there. So that is one of those things that I'm proud of you saying, because that is one of the things that I think everybody needs to pick up on that's listening. One of the other things I want to ask here, and then I'll try to go down a little bit. I know your time is valuable. What are some of the bucket lists of things that you're trying to put in the bucket and trying to put together right now to try to say, I need to get this done, and I need to get these things done? Or you don't have a bucket list at all? Not something that you want to do before God brings you home, but just something you're trying to do around the goal that you have right now for being a city councilman.
Yeah. Well, so I bring it to a couple of things, because some of the things I'm running on is kind of centered around 3 points. I want to ensure the city continues to stay safe, and safety meaning, we have a responsible fire and police that responds in a timely fashion and meet the needs of the residents. I want to ensure that our communities are healthy. One of the things I want to instill in what we look like and what we do is ensure that we are healthy, which means that not only physically, spiritually, and just mentally healthy in our cities. And how do we bring those resources in to ensure that we're able to do that and sustain it? And how do we get our educators within the hospitals out to the community to teach them about the things that get us in trouble from a health-wise, our eating habits? Talk about disease processes and how we can prevent from going there. I want a health system that's proactive versus reactive. So, getting out, doing the training, getting into communities, and providing that to prevent, some of those things from happening. Another thing I want to do is focus on the economy. I want it to be strong and resilient. How we have a strong and resilient economy is we got to have businesses flourishing and entrepreneurs, in our cities. We got to fill those buildings you talked about. We got to really share to the outer cities that are looking at Temecula and saying, hey, we have a space for you. If you have a business that will connect with the city, and then how do we help them become resilient, that they will stimulate jobs, and those jobs stimulate our economy within the city. So how do we do that as well? And and the last thing, our services, I want them to be inclusive and sustainable, which means that anything we do for our residents, we want to make sure they're inclusive of everyone. And that's what the Ready Commission does, right? To go out and do that work. We want to make sure everybody feels comfortable connecting with those services. And we want to make sure that it's budget to ensure that those services are prolonged and supportive of our residents. So, those 3 things are the things I'm running on: safe and healthy communities, stronger and resilient economy, inclusive and sustainable services. But every city, has issues, and there's the ability to do things better. So no city is perfect. They were perfect before we walked into them. And then they became imperfect. So there's a lot of things we can do better, like seek out innovative opportunities to address the needs of affordable housing within our city. We can support the challenges staff to seek out opportunities to improve our city. We want to be forward thinking in that, not actually looking at it for the day, but looking at it 10 to 15 years down the line, right? We always want to ensure easy access to voting. I know you've seen places where the voting was moved out hours away from people's homes to make it difficult for them to vote. We don't ever want to be in a situation like that. So we need to make sure that we have safe, fair, and equitable voting with our city. We want a robust and modern park system, right? Many people move here because of the parks and how it looks and places for the kids to play. We want to continue to do that because we want young people coming into our communities and moving in. As people get older, you want that constant shuffle. New homeowners with kids coming in, and then our older residents moving into smaller homes, opening up opportunity for people to move in. So we want to continue to allow that to happen. I'm a veteran, so I got to be about the veterans. So we want to support our active military, our veterans and their families by highlighting their impact on the world, the nation, and our country. We need to celebrate them, man. They made a lot of sacrifices to ensure that we're able to be where we are right now, and we need to let them know every year and celebrate them and support those families. In addition to the regular residents as well, because they are regular residents, but the fact that they serve, we need to recognize that. I can go on and on. We know immediate and prompt response to infrastructure concerns across the city. We want to make sure we're prompt and accurate and timely when we respond to infrastructure issues across the city, like roads and sidewalks and buildings, to ensure that we continue to be a city that people want to come. We need creative and innovative ideas to address homelessness within our city. We talked about that. What can we do to be proactive versus reactive? How can we get ahead based on what we've learned from our homeless in the community? How can we use that data to get ahead to try to prevent some of the homelessness that we're having in our city? So we need to look at that as well. We need a nonpartisan approach to governing in our city. We need to focus on the residents and not any political ideology. We need to focus on our residents and not be concerned about I'm Republican, Democrat, whatever. Quality of life is quality of life for everybody. It crosses every political spectrum, and it shouldn't be anything political about that and taking care of people. So although people continue to try to make it political, we want to ensure that the city is fiscally healthy to address present and future concerns of our city. We got to make sure that we have the money to take care of the things we need to take care of in our city. And we need a responsible staff that manages that and to ensure that we don't get in the red area and we make the right decisions ahead of time before we get here. So we need a city, I want to be in city council and make sure I work with the staff to do that. We want to expand opportunities for new businesses while expounding on support of local entrepreneurs. I don't know if you guys know, we have a Temecula Valley Entrepreneur Exchange. We call it TVE2. They provide all these great resources for business owners over in the building, or it's called TVE2. If you're a small business owner or you're looking to help people, this building is specifically for that. They help them with business plans. They help them when they're struggling. A lot of people don't know about it. That's why I talk about this communication. It's there to help keep businesses in business, but a lot of people don't take advantage of it. And when we communicate it, I want to expand that to make sure business owners and those who are thinking about doing business know that they can go over and these people will help them start their business. And the city pays for this. It's free. They give classes, certifications. So this city is doing a great job, and we need to make sure they communicate it out to our residents. We just need to provide spaces and opportunities to hear the voices of our young adults, right? We talked about that, and our special needs and our seniors. Many times, those are the voices that are minimized, and we want to make sure that they come to city council to make your voice be heard. Talk about the things that we need to do for you, so we can build that in our policy. So I want to be able to connect with these young adults, special needs, and seniors to really bring their voice back to city council to ensure that we let them know you're part of this. You're part of this community too. You're not separate from this community. You're the reason this community thrives. So bringing them in the fold. And create opportunities and have discussions that work to unite our communities and celebrate our differences, diversity, and cultures. I talked about that with Culture Fest. One of the things we did with the Ready Commission is to bring us together to celebrate each other. We need more opportunities to celebrate each other together. And I know we have our months that we celebrate different cultures, but nothing like bringing us all together and then we sit in this space and we educate each other about where we came from, our cultures or whatever. That's how we break down barriers. And then emergency preparedness that ensures a safe and secure city during disasters. We're a moment away from the next disaster. We see it all the way across the city, all the way across the country where people have floods where they never had floods before. We have tornadoes hitting down right now. I mean, if we're not prepared for that, then we're going to struggle from it. And I know we live in this great city, Temecula. Nothing happens. We get an earthquake every now and then. But let something happen huge and we're not prepared for it. And we're going to struggle as a city. So we want to get ahead of that. I mean, we need to get out there and train everybody in disaster preparedness, make sure they're ready for something that may come down, a wildfire or fire that may reach over into our communities. And many times people are like, I wasn't listening, I'm not prepared. Let's get people prepared and let's continue to really expand on that to make sure our people are prepared for it as well. And then some innovative solutions to Wi-Fi across the city. And we're expanding Wi-Fi in our parks. If you guys don't know it, several of our parks have Wi-Fi for those who struggle with getting that in their homes, so they can connect in these parks and be able to sit out and do their homework. We really started expanding out to COVID, but I wanted to make sure we expand more to get people outside, not the house, and into our parks to be able to use that Wi-Fi. And then last but not least, and I'll leave, I know I've been long-winded, we want city events that are inclusive in nature and that provide an opportunity for all races to engage and share in the experience. We want to ensure that every resident can engage in everything we have in our city and take advantage of it. And those are kind of the things I'm working on and want to work on and continue to engage with the city to make sure we have a city council that is about the people, for the people, and not about themselves and who they are. And that's what I'm about. So thank you for the opportunity to answer that. I know it was long.
No, I actually think that's important. And I'm going to give you another opportunity to, as you sit back and think about what else you might want to say into that. But I want to talk a little bit about the TV too. But I went there. I went to that building. They got the office rental spaces in there. If there's a program that would also allow you to, they'll pay your rent for a certain amount for the small business. And that was my conversation with the mayor when I met with him. It was about this particular place, because one of the issues I found when I went there, that I wasn't approved. I wasn't approved for it because there is another council or someone else that looks at these applicants, right, and makes those determinations whether or not they're suitable or whatever it is for the space. But when I went inside of there, and I was like, man, you got like 15, 20 empty spaces in here. Why are we having a problem with allowing those grants to be actually used for the small businesses that is trying to grow, whether it's just the desk space or whether it's the office space, but there's also the information that comes through that source, right? They got the small business marketing, they got other loans and other people that they have in there that allow you to benefit from as a small business here in Temecula. So I would hope, and I I'm glad you mentioned it, that there's a way to work toward the people who are starting out, because not everybody's going to have a total business plan all made up that make $1 million in Temecula. They have to build that, and they need to have the ability to have that space to conduct business, to try to reach out to investors and try to build their company. But I don't know if the TV2 is set up that way. If you know anything about that, can you explain a little bit about how that is set up?
Well, let me dig into it, because I haven't used the resources. I just know a little bit about it, but let me dig into that and then get some more information for you and let you know about it. So,
okay, thank you for that, because when you mentioned that, it just like all kinds of flags went off, because I know I've been there, and that was a really big part of when I got that information. I thought it was a good program, and I even talked to the lady that was in charge down there. So let me ask you this: where are you going to be this Labor Day? What are some of the places you're going to be headed? Where can people find you to talk with you and be able to interact with you over the holidays?
Are you talking about Memorial Day?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be engaged. We have an event specifically for our to memorialize those service members who died and gave the ultimate sacrifice to this country. So there is a event going on Temecula Valley old theater, the theater in Old Town. So they're going to have a tribute, a musical to celebrate our different services and to celebrate those who've fallen in war, and to really recognize and pay homage to those during this Memorial Day. So I'll be there on Saturday, and then a couple events because I'm very active in regards to getting out in the community and talking to people. So they'll see me all around Temecula because that's what I've been doing for the last several months, is going out, engaging with the residents and seeing what their expectations are of a city council member, and also just get them to know who I am, because I haven't been in front of the 22,000 residents that's in my district. So my thing is all about getting out, meeting them where they are, having a conversation, seeing what they think of city leadership and what their thoughts of what a city council should do for them. And again, using that as I move forward to get in this seat of the city, Temecula City Council.
That's great. Do you plan to be at any of the Juneteenth events that's going around in Temecula this, I think, coming up this weekend or next weekend?
Juneteenth, yeah. I'll be in, I don't know if you guys heard about the one in Menifee. I'll be there. I'll be actually speaking at that one, then sharing information with the crowd there and those in attendance that I'll be running for city council. So if they want to support me with donation or actually come and volunteer with me, they'll be able to sign up there as well and just get to see who I am. We're going to be hosting a Juneteenth event in Temecula at the Ronald Reagan Sports Park. There's an amphitheater there at the Ronald Reagan Sports Park. There will be from 5 to 7. We'll have an event centered around Juneteenth at that amphitheater on the. Let me give you the date here. It'll be on the 8th of June, because there's other events going on, and I don't think anybody's going to do one on Juneteenth because that's a weekday. So most people are doing theirs on the weekend. And then there's
I'll be definitely seeing you.
You'll see me around. You'll see me around.
Yeah, I'll see you at the Menifee one because I'll be there. I'll be there for that event. I think we have a booth there for that one in Menifee. I'd like to ask you this question. Maybe you can take a minute to think about this question, and then after that, we'll ask you that question about what you feel we haven't covered. This question is a little bit about the podcast. Our goal here is to, like I talked about earlier, is to uplift small businesses and bring them to the community, like we talked about a little bit. What are some of the things that you can recommend that we do better, or what do you see that what we're doing and how we can make that the podcast a little bit a better place for our people out there that are trying to get their small businesses out there?
Well, I would say that there's, I don't know if you're part of all the Black social media sites. There's one in Menifee, there's one in Temecula, there's one in Hemet. That's the BRC, Black Riverside County. If you're looking for minority connections, I think if you're looking for those small businesses, they're in those groups because many of those groups are there to tout and push small business ownership and actually to support and meet up with small businesses as well. I was just at a mixer with the Menifee Black Menifee social media site. They got a Facebook site, so I just joined and I went out to share that I'm running for city council. They had a group of like 20. And they were all small business owners just talking and sharing information and just having a good time. So being a part of that and then getting some of those people on your podcast to talk will probably be a good starting point. If you're not already there already, that'll be a good starting point to look for minority business owners that come in and then share their information. And then they, that network will get you out there with other networks to let them know, hey, we have a podcast. Do you want to come on just talk about your small business, how we can do better, how we can work together better. Yeah.
Right.
Is there what do you think about the podcast so far for what you've seen, how we're trying to do the interview with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I think that the podcast was good. I mean, I think so. For this podcast, some of the questions, I think some of the questions were more on a higher ballot level when you talk about city council. Some of the discussions, around some of the law enforcement things we're voting on as voters. So some of the questions, are above what city council does. So for me as a city council member, I try to stay within quality of life issues. So that's what we really focus on when we talk about the border issue. That's a voting issue that each individuals have to go and vote on, and what we want to see there. But it does impact our cities. But as far as policy goes, that's driven by the state and the federal. I mean, the presidential at the presidential level in regards to what we do for our borders. So we just focus on at the city level. It's security, parks and recreation, housing, infrastructure, economy, and ensuring that all our services are here for our citizens. So some of those questions when we're at the city council level, a little different than what you would ask if you're talking about a senator, congressman, or representative, because they have their huge opinions on those things. Will go either left or right. And I'm like, I mean, there's somewhere in the middle where we can balance that out. And then the impact on our cities would be if they send personnel here, how do we do the housing? How do we do the workforce to ensure that they're included if they're doing it the right way? Or if they're not doing it the right way, how do we hold them accountable and get them back in the system as well if they illegally came here the wrong way? So it's just two different chain of thoughts when you talk about city council versus the higher level of government, because we focus on things that at this local level that are part of life issues to support our people where they're more political once you go up the chain of command, and that's the place where I don't want to be. I want to be nonpartisan. I want to be at the local level because I just feel like there's more impact here because you're controlling everything, things, sewage, water, electricity, and all those things that that people need to thrive. And I get more passion out of that than doing these political things up higher, where it's a constant fight back and forth about how do we get things done. So yeah, but I love it. This is my first time. Probably my first time doing a podcast too, guys. So I don't know what to expect because you asked the wrong person. You guys been doing.
Well, I thank you for that because I think one of the things in combination of what you're saying, the higher level of the political spectrum of what people are in some of those questions, and then some of the things that relates to the city and how you you deal with those basic issues within the limits of the city. But I think sometimes when people say they're not going to do something as far as their political aspirations, they end up doing it anyway. Or the other part is the other part is just understanding the overall, right? Because even though you may not have that, I think there is a balance of covering a little bit of an overall view of you, because some of those issues that we talk about are it's not maybe whether or not you're going for those particular areas, but they're a reflection of the kind of person you are by the answering of those questions. And I think you lay that out for your voters as well, regardless of what they may think about the higher aspiration of what you want to do. It does let us know the person, and that's really what this is about, is trying to get the person that's on the ballot and the people to vote for that person, and to make sure that the person that they are voting for, regardless of what position that they're in, that they're able to be well-rounded in their discussion, because you never know who you're going to be discussing out there when when you go to these events that are out there. So we definitely appreciate that. So I want to give you this chance to two things. One, talk about some of the things that we haven't that you really want to get out there that we may have missed. I know you did a little bit of that earlier. And then the other thing is to say, give your name and your email, your fundraising, how people can get a hold of you, so that we can be able to have that on this this section too. So go for it.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here on the podcast. I appreciate you guys both. This has been a good experience. Again, my first podcast, but it's been a great experience. But I mean, I just want to leave with the voters with a couple things. So I am running to be that leader that can connect with everyone, to really bring everyone together. I speak about bringing unity back in the community because I think we've lost that over the last couple of years due to the political climate and what we've been dealing with and what we're going to be dealing with as we go in to November 5th, 2024 for the general election as well. So if you're looking for the candidate that's going to bring us back together and establish the unity of the community and be about you as a resident, put your needs before my own, then I'm the person that you want to look to vote for on November 5th. Yeah. I'm just focused on a couple of things here. I want to make sure our communities are safe and healthy. I want to continue to press on a strong and resilient economy. And I want to ensure that our services are inclusive and sustainable for all our residents. So when you go to the polls, I want you to look all the way down in District 2, and you'll look at a candidate named Eric Faulkner, and I want you to put your check in the box and select Eric Faulkner as your next city council for District 2 in November. And one thing I'll leave you with, we are better together, so let's work together to be the city where the sun breaks through the mist. So I appreciate you letting me be on. And for the voters, look forward to seeing you in November and look forward to you voting for me. And you can connect with me if you go to my website, Faulkner for City Council 2024.com, and you can actually volunteer and you can actually donate if you're willing to support the campaign. Additionally, you can find out more other information there in regards to the website to connect with me personally. And I look forward to talking to you and seeing you as I make my rounds around District 2. And I will leave no stone unturned as I work to connect with you across the city. So thanks a lot, and looking forward to your vote.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Can't thank you enough for coming on, Eric. And thanks for everything.
Thank you both. I appreciate it both. Thanks a lot for the experience as well. Thanks so much.